Hey everyone, welcome back to Mindset and Money, where we explore the intersection of psychology, emotions, and financial well-being. I'm your host, Alex, and today we're going to dive deep into a topic that's absolutely crucial, but often overlooked: how our mindset and emotions influence our financial decisions. Joining me is my good friend Sarah, who has spent years researching personal development and financial psychology. Welcome to the show, Sarah.
Thanks for having me, Alex. I'm really excited to get into this discussion because, honestly, how we think and feel about money is just as important, if not more so, than the financial strategies we use.
Absolutely. We can have all the budgeting tools and investment strategies in the world, but if our mindset is off, it's like building a house on a shaky foundation. I thought we could start by exploring why mindset plays such a pivotal role in how we manage and grow our wealth.
The role of mindset in financial success.
Definitely. One thing I always like to emphasize is that wealth building is much more of a mental game than people realize. Our beliefs and attitudes about money often stem from experiences in childhood or societal conditioning. And those beliefs can deeply impact the financial choices we make as adults. For instance, someone who grew up in a household where money was always scarce might develop a scarcity mindset. Even if they're making a good income later in life, they may still feel anxious about spending or hoarding money because they're operating from that old script.
That's such a good point. I think it's important to highlight that it's not just about how much money you have, but how you perceive money. You mentioned the scarcity mindset, which is a common one. On the flip side, there's the abundance mindset. Can you break down the differences between these two?
Sure. A scarcity mindset is rooted in the belief that there's never enough, whether it's money, opportunities, or resources. People with this mindset tend to focus on what they lack, which can lead to poor financial decisions like avoiding risk altogether or overspending out of fear that something will be taken away. On the other hand, an abundance mindset is built on the belief that there's plenty to go around. People with an abundance mindset are more likely to take calculated risks, invest in themselves, and see financial setbacks as temporary rather than the end of the world.
It's like the classic difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset, but applied to finances. Those with a growth mindset see opportunities to learn and improve, while those with a fixed mindset see things as static and unchangeable.
Emotions and money, the invisible forces.
Let's talk a bit about the emotional side of money. We've all heard the phrase, money is emotional. Why is that?
Money is inherently tied to our sense of security, freedom, and even our self-worth. Because of that, it triggers deep-seated emotions like fear, guilt, shame, or even pride. For instance, if you've ever bought something out of guilt or stress, you know exactly what I'm talking about. These emotions can override logic and lead to impulsive spending, avoiding financial planning, or staying stuck in the same financial patterns, even if they're not serving you.
Exactly. One of the biggest emotional traps I see is lifestyle inflation. When people start earning more instead of saving or investing that extra income, they immediately upgrade their lifestyle to match it. New car, bigger house, more expensive vacations. It feels good in the moment, but it doesn't necessarily lead to long-term wealth.
That's the thing. Emotions like status anxiety and comparison can lead us into financial behaviors that aren't aligned with our long-term goals. Social media doesn't help either. We're constantly bombarded with images of what other people have, which can make us feel inadequate and push us to spend just to keep up.
That's so true. It's easy to forget that social media is just a highlight reel, not real life. So, how do we begin to detach our emotions from our financial decisions? Because I think that's where a lot of people get stuck.
Adopting a healthier money mindset.
It starts with awareness. You have to recognize the emotional triggers and limiting beliefs you have around money. One exercise I often recommend is journaling about your earliest memories of money and how they've shaped your current financial behaviors. Were you taught that money is hard to come by, or that rich people are greedy? Once you identify those stories, you can start challenging them.
That's powerful. It's almost like reprogramming your mind for financial success. I also think building healthy habits is key. For example, automating your savings or investments can remove the temptation to spend impulsively because that money is already allocated.
Definitely. And I think another big part of this is practicing delayed gratification. Wealth building is a marathon, not a sprint. But our culture is so focused on instant rewards. Learning to wait for something better in the future, whether that's saving for a house down payment or sticking to an investment plan, is crucial for long-term success.
Let's not forget the role of gratitude. We often focus so much on what we want that we overlook what we already have. Cultivating gratitude for what you have right now can help shift you from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset.
100%. Gratitude rewires your brain to see opportunities instead of limitations. It also makes you more content, which reduces the urge to spend just to feel better.
Practical strategies for shifting your money mindset.
Let's get into some actionable steps that listeners can take today to start shifting their money mindset. What would you suggest, Sarah?
First, I'd say get clear on your financial goals and your why. Why do you want financial freedom? Is it so you can travel more, spend time with family, or have peace of mind? Having a strong, emotionally resonant reason helps you stay disciplined when things get tough.
I like that. Clarity is key. I'd add that once you have your goals, it's important to break them down into smaller, manageable steps. Instead of just saying, I want to save $10,000, break it down into monthly or even weekly savings targets. It makes the goal less intimidating and easier to achieve.
Another tip is to surround yourself with people who have a healthy relationship with money. Jim Rohn famously said, "You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." And that applies to your financial mindset too. If you're around people who are constantly complaining about money or engaging in reckless spending, it's going to influence you, even subconsciously.
That's so true. The company you keep really does matter. I'd also say invest in financial education, books, podcasts, courses. There's so much out there that can help you understand not just the mechanics of managing money, but also the mindset shifts needed to build wealth. What's one book or resource that's been a game changer for you, Sarah?
Oh, there are so many good ones. But if I had to pick, I'd say The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. It's such a great read because it combines storytelling with practical lessons about how human behavior affects financial outcomes. It's less about the numbers and more about how our choices shape our financial lives.
That's a fantastic recommendation. Another one I'd add is Mindset by Carol Dweck, which we touched on earlier. Even though it's not specifically about money, it helps you understand how adopting a growth mindset can transform all areas of your life, including your finances.
Overcoming common money mindset blocks.
Let's shift gears a bit and talk about some common mindset blocks people face when it comes to money. One big one is the fear of investing. A lot of people are hesitant to invest because they're scared of losing money. How can someone overcome that fear?
Great question. The fear of investing usually comes from a lack of knowledge and an aversion to risk. The first step is education. Understanding the basics of how investments work, like the difference between stocks, bonds, and real estate, can demystify the process. The second step is to start small. You don't have to dive in with huge sums. Even investing a small percentage of your income can build confidence over time.
Yes, and it's important to remember that risk and reward are two sides of the same coin. If you want your money to grow, you have to accept some level of risk. But you can mitigate that risk by diversifying your investments and focusing on the long term.
Another block is self-doubt or feeling undeserving of wealth. Some people have limiting beliefs like, "I'll never be rich," or "I don't deserve financial success." Those thoughts are incredibly powerful and can sabotage any progress you try to make.
That's a huge one. The idea of self-worth is so closely tied to money. If you believe deep down that you're not worthy of abundance, you'll unconsciously act in ways that confirm that belief, like overspending, undercharging for your services, or avoiding wealth-building opportunities altogether.
Exactly. To overcome that, you can start with affirmations or visualization exercises. Picture yourself achieving financial freedom and what that life would look like. Over time, as you take small actions aligned with that vision, your self-belief starts to shift.
That's a great strategy. And to wrap things up, I'd like to encourage our listeners to be patient with themselves. Changing your money mindset is a journey, not a quick fix. It's about consistently working on your thoughts, emotions, and habits over time.
Couldn't agree more, Alex. It's all about progress, not perfection. The more you work on your mindset, the more empowered you'll feel to make financial decisions that lead to lasting wealth.
I really like where we're heading with this conversation. One thing that I think we should emphasize more is how deeply ingrained these money beliefs can be. They don't just show up in obvious ways like overspending or avoiding investing. They also pop up in how we think about success, wealth, and even our relationship with others.
Exactly. There's a term for this called money scripts, which are the subconscious beliefs we carry about money. These scripts often come from our upbringing or significant life experiences. For example, someone who grew up in a household where money was a constant source of stress might develop a belief that money is the root of all problems. Even when they start earning more, that belief could lead to self-sabotage, like avoiding financial planning because it feels stressful or overwhelming.
Right, and these money scripts don't just influence how we spend or save. They also impact how we perceive wealthy people. If someone's internalized the belief that rich people are greedy, they might unconsciously push away opportunities to build wealth because they don't want to be associated with that negative stereotype.
How money beliefs affect relationships.
Let's talk about how these mindsets and beliefs affect relationships. Money is one of the leading causes of stress in relationships, whether it's with a partner, family, or friends. How do you think money mindset plays into that?
Oh, it's huge. When two people have different money mindsets, it can lead to conflict. For instance, if one partner has a scarcity mindset and is very frugal, while the other has an abundance mindset and is more willing to spend on experiences, it can create tension. Without open communication, these differences can lead to misunderstandings, resentment, or even financial infidelity, where one partner hides purchases or debts from the other.
I've seen that happen a lot. Even in friendships, differing money mindsets can create friction. For example, one friend might feel pressured to keep up with the other's spending habits, whether it's dining out or going on expensive trips, even if it's not within their budget. That's where emotions like guilt and shame can creep in.
Exactly. It's all connected. And that brings us to the importance of aligning your financial goals and values with the people closest to you, whether it's a spouse, family member, or friend. Having conversations about money values early on can prevent a lot of conflicts down the road. It's not always easy, but it's crucial.
That's a great point. And I think it also ties back to being clear on your why when it comes to money. If both partners or friends are on the same page about what they value, whether that's saving for a big purchase, investing in personal growth, or building a legacy, they can make decisions that align with those goals, even if their money mindsets differ a bit.
How to reframe negative money emotions.
I want to circle back to emotions because they play such a big role in how we handle money. Earlier, we touched on how emotions like fear, guilt, and stress can drive financial decisions. Let's dig into how we can reframe these emotions and use them as a guide instead of letting them control us.
I love that idea. Reframing negative emotions is so important. Let's start with fear, which is one of the most common emotions tied to money. Fear often shows up as a resistance to taking risks, like investing or making career changes that could increase income. But instead of avoiding fear, it can be helpful to acknowledge it and ask what it's trying to tell you. Sometimes fear is just pointing out an area where you need more knowledge or preparation.
That's a great way to look at it. Instead of letting fear paralyze you, use it as motivation to do your research or seek advice. On the other hand, guilt is another tricky emotion that can keep people stuck. Some people feel guilty for earning more than others, especially if they come from a background where wealth was scarce.
Definitely. Guilt can lead people to either overcompensate, like giving away money to the point of self-sacrifice, or to avoid financial success because they feel they don't deserve it. The key here is to recognize that wealth doesn't make you a bad person. In fact, having more financial resources can allow you to do more good, whether that's through charitable giving, supporting loved ones, or investing in causes you care about.
And stress is another big one, especially in today's fast-paced world. Financial stress can lead to impulsive decisions, like buying something to feel better in the moment or taking out high-interest loans because you feel backed into a corner.
Yes, and stress is often a signal that something needs to change. Instead of reacting impulsively, it helps to take a step back and analyze the situation. What's really causing the stress? Is it overspending, a lack of a budget, or fear of the unknown? Once you identify the root cause, you can create a plan to address it. This could be as simple as building an emergency fund to give yourself some breathing room, or automating bill payments to reduce the mental load.
The importance of a growth mindset in finance.
I want to switch gears a bit and talk about the concept of a growth mindset in relation to money. We touched on this earlier, but I think it's worth exploring more. How does adopting a growth mindset shift the way we approach financial challenges?
Great question. A growth mindset is all about believing that your abilities and intelligence can be developed through effort, learning, and persistence. When applied to money, it means seeing financial challenges as opportunities to learn and grow, rather than as insurmountable obstacles. Instead of thinking, I'm just not good with money, you shift to thinking, I can improve my financial skills with practice.
Exactly. And that ties into how we deal with setbacks. Someone with a growth mindset sees financial mistakes, like getting into debt or making a bad investment, as learning experiences. Instead of beating themselves up, they ask, what can I learn from this? And how can I do better next time?
Right. A fixed mindset, on the other hand, can keep people stuck. If you believe that your financial situation is set in stone, you're less likely to take proactive steps to improve it. You might avoid learning about investing because you think it's too complicated for me, or you might stay in a job that's not fulfilling because you believe you can't earn more.
That's why cultivating a growth mindset is so powerful. It opens up possibilities. It allows you to experiment, take calculated risks, and adapt when things don't go as planned. And one of the best ways to develop a growth mindset is through continuous learning and surrounding yourself with positive influences.
I couldn't agree more. And it doesn't have to be overwhelming. Even reading one financial book a month or listening to podcasts that challenge your current beliefs can create massive shifts over time.
The impact of generational money beliefs.
Let's get into a topic that's closely related to mindset but often overlooked: generational money beliefs. These are the financial attitudes and behaviors passed down from one generation to the next. How do you think these inherited beliefs shape our financial mindset?
They have a huge impact. The money habits and attitudes we observed in our parents or caregivers set the tone for how we approach finances as adults. For example, if you grew up in a household where money was always a source of conflict, you might develop anxiety around finances, even if your own financial situation is stable. Or if you were taught to be overly cautious with money, you might struggle to take healthy financial risks like investing.
That's so true. And it's not just about what was explicitly taught. It's also about what was modeled. Even if our parents never sat us down to talk about money, we picked up on their behaviors. Whether that was constant stress over bills or a habit of avoiding conversations about finances altogether.
Exactly. And breaking out of these generational patterns requires a lot of self-awareness and intentionality. One way to start is by questioning the financial narratives you grew up with. Ask yourself, is this belief serving me? Is it even true? For instance, the belief that you have to work hard for money might sound reasonable, but it can also lead to burnout if you don't balance hard work with smart financial strategies.
That's a great point. It's also worth noting that these generational beliefs can be positive too. Maybe you learned the value of saving from your parents or the importance of giving back to your community. The goal is to keep the beliefs that align with your values and goals while consciously letting go of the ones that hold you back.
Practical tips for rewiring your financial mindset.
Let's shift back to practical strategies. We've covered a lot about awareness and understanding your money mindset, but what are some specific exercises or habits people can start today to rewire their financial mindset?
One powerful exercise is writing down your money beliefs and then reframing the negative ones. For example, if you find yourself thinking, "I'll never be financially free," challenge that belief by writing down evidence to the contrary, like times you've saved money, paid off debt, or invested successfully. The goal is to replace limiting beliefs with empowering ones like, "I'm capable of creating financial freedom."
That's a great exercise. I'd also suggest tracking your financial habits and emotions for at least a month. Write down every time you spend money and note how you felt when you made that decision. Were you stressed, excited, guilty? This kind of tracking helps you identify patterns and understand the emotional drivers behind your spending.
Another tip is to set up a financial vision board. This is similar to a regular vision board, but focused on your financial goals. Whether it's pictures of the lifestyle you want, quotes about abundance, or images representing your goals, having a visual reminder keeps you focused and motivated.
I love that idea, and it's a constant reinforcement of the mindset you want to adopt. I'd also add the importance of setting up financial affirmations. Statements like, "I am worthy of financial abundance," or "I make smart financial decisions," might feel a bit cheesy at first, but they work because they help reprogram your subconscious beliefs.
Yes, affirmations are incredibly effective over time. Another practice I'd recommend is mindfulness meditation. It's not directly related to money, but by training your mind to stay present and manage stress, you're less likely to make impulsive decisions or fall into old emotional traps.
That's so true. When you can detach from the immediate emotional impulse, whether it's fear or excitement, you gain the clarity needed to make decisions that align with your long-term financial goals.
Some questions and answers that could extend the discussion on the psychology of money and how mindset affects wealth.
Question: what are some common limiting beliefs about money that hold people back from achieving financial success?
Answer: common limiting beliefs include thoughts like, "I'll never be rich," "Money is the root of all evil," or "You have to work extremely hard to make money." These beliefs stem from early life experiences, societal conditioning, or generational patterns. They create mental blocks that can lead to self-sabotaging behaviors like avoiding investing, overspending, or staying stuck in jobs that don't pay well. Reframing these beliefs by challenging their validity and replacing them with empowering statements is crucial for financial growth.
How does a scarcity mindset impact financial decisions?
A scarcity mindset is the belief that resources are limited and there's never enough. This mindset often leads to hoarding, excessive saving without investing, or spending impulsively out of fear that opportunities will disappear. People with a scarcity mindset may be overly risk-averse, missing out on investment opportunities or ways to increase their income. Shifting to an abundance mindset, where you believe there are plenty of opportunities, can lead to better financial choices like taking calculated risks and investing for long-term growth.
How can someone recognize if their emotions are driving their financial decisions?
Emotions like fear, stress, guilt, or excitement often drive impulsive financial decisions. If you find yourself spending to relieve stress, buying things you can't afford to impress others, or avoiding financial planning because it feels overwhelming, emotions are likely in control. Journaling your financial decisions and noting the emotions you felt at the time can help you identify patterns. Once recognized, you can work on managing these emotions, perhaps through mindfulness practices or by setting clear financial boundaries.
What are some strategies to break free from generational money beliefs?
Breaking free from generational money beliefs starts with identifying the beliefs you've inherited, such as, you have to struggle to make money, or we're not the kind of people who get rich. Question the validity of these beliefs and consider whether they align with your current values and goals. Reframing these beliefs and replacing them with positive affirmations is one approach. Additionally, surrounding yourself with people who have a healthier relationship with money and seeking financial education can help shift your mindset.
How can someone build a growth mindset when it comes to money?
Building a growth mindset around money involves seeing financial challenges as opportunities to learn rather than as setbacks. Start by embracing the idea that your financial skills and knowledge can improve with effort and practice. Focus on continuous learning through books, podcasts, or courses on personal finance. Set small, achievable financial goals and celebrate your progress, even if it's gradual. Also, engage in positive self-talk, reminding yourself that financial mistakes are learning experiences rather than failures.
What are some practical steps to manage financial stress?
Managing financial stress begins with understanding its root causes. Is it debt, lack of savings, or uncertainty about the future? Once identified, create a plan to address the source of stress. Start with basics like creating a budget, building an emergency fund, and automating savings. Practicing mindfulness techniques like deep breathing or meditation can help you stay calm and focused during stressful financial situations. Breaking larger financial goals into smaller, actionable steps also reduces overwhelm and gives you a clear path forward.
Why is gratitude important in cultivating an abundance mindset?
Gratitude shifts your focus from what you lack to what you already have, which is a key aspect of an abundance mindset. By regularly practicing gratitude, whether through journaling or simply reflecting on your day, you train your mind to recognize opportunities and positive aspects of your financial life. This reduces the need to compare yourself to others and lessens feelings of scarcity. Gratitude also fosters contentment, making you less likely to spend impulsively in search of happiness.
How can someone overcome the fear of investing?
The fear of investing usually comes from a lack of knowledge and the fear of losing money. Start by educating yourself on the basics of investing, such as understanding different asset classes, risk levels, and investment strategies. Begin with small, manageable amounts to build confidence. Diversifying your investments and focusing on long-term growth rather than short-term gains can also reduce fear. Remember, all investments carry some risk, but staying informed and starting small allows you to manage that risk better.
What role does self-worth play in financial success?
Self-worth is deeply connected to how you manage money. If you believe you're not deserving of wealth or success, you might unconsciously make decisions that keep you stuck in a cycle of scarcity, like undercharging for your services, avoiding opportunities for advancement, or not taking steps to grow your wealth. Cultivating a sense of worthiness involves recognizing that financial abundance is possible for you and that you deserve to achieve your financial goals. Practices like positive affirmations and setting clear financial boundaries can help reinforce your sense of self-worth.
How can visualization techniques help shift your money mindset?
Visualization is a powerful tool for shifting your money mindset because it helps you create a mental picture of your desired financial future. By regularly visualizing yourself achieving financial goals, whether it's paying off debt, growing your investments, or living the lifestyle you want, you start to internalize those possibilities. Visualization helps your brain see these goals as achievable, which boosts motivation and keeps you focused. Combining visualization with concrete action steps creates momentum toward those financial outcomes.